You also think that this current whistleblower is actually, or the whistleblowing that's taking place is being done fairly shrewdly, given these constraints that they have to operate in?
I think that's right. I think their lawyers understand that this is a body of whistleblowers coming forward, a community of whistleblowers, not just one. And the smart thing to do is to gradually trickle out their information, not give it in a body to be attacked together, but allow Trump and his allies to shoot basically all of their ammunition at the first two, and then simply have nothing to answer to the others or have the others rebut. That said, if the President of the United States suggests that you might be someone who needed to be rubbed out, that's never good.
It's great to be with you.
President Trump's cozy relations with Vladimir Putin are well documented.
You know what? Putin's fine. He's fine.
But while repeatedly calling Russia's interference in the 2016 election a hoax, the U.S. president is gifting Putin one foreign policy victory after the next, spanning almost the entire globe. In the Middle East, Syria is only the latest case of America stepping back and Russia stepping in. Russian forces now patrolling the northeast of that country after President Trump abandoned America's allies there, the Kurds, forcing them to allow Russia into the area.
We never agreed to protect the Kurds for the rest of their lives.
Putin is now the new strong man in the region, even traditional U.S. allies like Saudi Arabia and the UAE courting the Kremlin, as Putin makes a sales pitch for Russian military equipment instead of American gear.
The leadership of Saudi Arabia just needs to make the wise decision, just like Iran did when they bought S-300, and just like Erdogan when he bought S-400. They will protect any Saudi infrastructure.
And while President Trump has shown little interest in Africa, Putin is putting on a diplomatic full-court press with the continent's leaders.
Russia has signed military technical cooperation agreements with more than 30 countries, where we supply a large array of weaponry and hardware.
Meanwhile, in Europe, President Trump has been alienating long-standing NATO allies, calling America's commitment to their safety into question. And the president held back military aid to Ukraine, which is facing a Russian-backed insurgency, pressuring Ukraine's president to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden and Biden's son, leading to Congress's impeachment inquiry. There's no evidence of wrongdoing by Joe Biden or his son.
I'm only interested in corruption. I don't care about politics. I don't care about Biden's politics.
Even in Latin America, the same pattern. While U.S. public support for Venezuela's self-declared interim president Juan Guaido seems to have diminished, strongman Nicolas Maduro is still in power as Russia's support for him remains steadfast, sending a clear message to the world of America in retreat and Vladimir Putin filling the void.
Growing dissent within Facebook over the company's policy not to fact-check political ads. In an open letter obtained by the New York Times, hundreds of Facebook's employees are slamming the company's policy as a, quote, threat to what Facebook stands for. This is what they write, quote, "We strongly object to this policy as it stands. It doesn't protect voices, but instead allows politicians to weaponize our platform by targeting people who believe that content posted by political figures is trustworthy." Joining us now is CNN politics and technology reporter Donnie Sullivan. Donnie, it's pretty unusual for people within Facebook to mutiny like this.
Absolutely. Facebook is not like the White House. It's not like Washington. It doesn't normally leak. When there's internal upheaval, we never normally hear about it. So hearing this is quite unusual. And this letter is actually incredible. It goes far beyond the fact-checking policy, which has been so controversial lately. And it actually says to Facebook executives, our tools, the way we can target ads is too good. It's actually dangerous for democracy. If you and I, John, lived on the same street and we're both on Facebook, a political campaign could send us two totally different messages, two totally different set of lies. And what Facebook employees are saying here is that when you can do that, when you can target at that granular level, there's no common or shared understanding of what a campaign is saying. And therefore, there can't be public scrutiny. So if you run an ad on TV or take a page out in the New York Times, people can see that. They can debate it, discuss it, and test it. That's not the same on Facebook.
And the call, again, is coming from inside the building, Facebook employees. And the timing is interesting because it's the 2020 election. We're running out of time before 2020. Do you think that's a motivating factor for these people?
Well, these employees are now joining a growing chorus of people who are saying this policy is wrong. We've heard from Biden, we've heard from Warren. Today, actually, Senator Warren just last night sent a letter to Mark Zuckerberg saying this. We've seen all this criticism come from outside the company, and Facebook really hasn't listened. So it's going to be interesting to see if now the calls are coming, as you say, from inside the building, if that will change things.
So this dovetails with a story that you've been reporting on, which I think is fascinating, which is that there is this person in California who was running for governor there just to highlight the dangers of this policy from Facebook. Explain what's going on.
Yes, so Facebook's policy is if you're a politician, you can lie. You can buy ads on their platform that are lies and that are false. So a liberal left-leaning activist in San Francisco yesterday went to his local post office and registered to be a candidate for governor in the 2022 election, with the thinking that if I am a candidate, a politician in Facebook's eyes, I will be able to place lies on the platform. And the reason he's doing that, of course, is to highlight what he says is this dangerous Facebook policy. And he says particularly that, you know, this policy could be most advantageous to Donald Trump because Trump is known to lie.
One of the ads he posted as an example of what is allowed on Facebook is this ad about Lindsey Graham, which we want to tell people, this is a lie. This is not true, but it's allowed on Facebook. So let's watch.
I'm Senator Graham from South Carolina. I'm here to announce with my colleagues that we care about conservation. We care about the environment. From a Republican point of view, I think we need to look at the science, admit that climate change is real. Simply put, we believe in the Green New Deal.
So he does not believe in the Green New Deal, but this ad is allowed. Is this message going to be effective?
So yes, he never said that. Also, that photo of him with AOC is a fake Photoshop picture, obviously. So Adriel Hampton, the man who's running for governor, he placed this ad over the weekend and it was taken down because he wasn't a politician. Now he's a politician, so he's going to start creating these sort of ads to really test Facebook's policy. So this is a story, this is a problem for Facebook that is not going away. We're going to be hearing a lot more about it.
Yeah.
Un Capitolio en calma, y ahora que quedaron definidas las reglas del proceso de juicio político en la Cámara de Representantes. Un desafiante presidente insiste que su conversación telefónica del 25 de julio con su homólogo de Ucrania fue perfecta y tiene un nuevo plan.
En algún momento me voy a sentar, a lo mejor con una conversación informal frente a la chimenea en vivo por televisión, y leeré la transcripción de la llamada, porque la gente tiene que oírla. Cuando usted la lee, es una llamada correcta,
dijo Trump al periódico conservador The Washington Examiner. Pero para los demócratas, las declaraciones de funcionarios que tuvieron relación con la llamada son prueba del abuso del poder del presidente para beneficiarse políticamente, por encima de los intereses del país. Por lo que, mientras se programan las audiencias públicas bajo las nuevas reglas, la próxima semana se esperan más declaraciones a puerta cerrada de estos funcionarios. Entre ellos, el ex asesor de Seguridad Nacional John Bolton, quien aseguró que no llegará al Capitolio sin un citatorio formal. Y aún así, no está claro si aceptará declarar. Eso mientras la Casa Blanca intenta organizar una estrategia y los republicanos buscan una línea de defensa efectiva para el presidente. Y es que el más reciente sondeo de ABC Washington Post muestra que los estadounidenses están divididos respecto a la posibilidad de que Trump sea enjuiciado y destituido, parecido con otras encuestas que sugieren que se mantiene el nivel de apoyo de la opinión pública al proceso que se adelanta en la Cámara. La mayoría de los encuestados cree que el manejo de Trump de Ucrania fue erróneo y que fue inapropiado haber involucrado a su abogado personal, Rudy Giuliani, aunque las respuestas se mantienen en líneas partidistas. De hecho, Trump logró una importante victoria con el rechazo en bloque de parte de los republicanos a la resolución que aprobó la Cámara de Representantes este jueves. Y por lo menos, vía Twitter, el presidente cree que el juicio político no va a descarrilar su reelección. Trump anunció que, después de cumplir su segundo mandato, Nueva York ya no será su estado de residencia. En septiembre cambió oficialmente la dirección de su residencia de Nueva York a Palm Beach, Florida.
Desafortunadamente, pese al hecho de que yo pago millones de dólares en impuestos locales a la ciudad y al estado cada año, los líderes políticos de la ciudad y el estado me han tratado muy mal.
Durante su presidencia, Trump ha visitado su club de Mar-a-Lago 99 veces, mientras que solo 20 la Torre Trump de Nueva York. El gobernador de Nueva York le respondió que su estado no lo quiere porque ni siquiera paga impuestos. El alcalde de Nueva York dijo que lo lamentaba por los residentes de la Florida. Y candidatos presidenciales de la oposición como Elizabeth Warren acusaron a Trump de corrupción por querer evadir impuestos bajo una nueva ley en Nueva York. Yone Molinares, CNN, Washington.
Tiene que ver con la disputa demócrata por la candidatura presidencial. Ya hay un candidato menos y se trata de Beto O'Rourke, ex representante a la Cámara por el estado de Texas. Llegó en algún momento en esta contienda a ser uno de los aspirantes considerado con posibilidades. Un representante a la Cámara, cuyo nombre es Robert, pero por haberse criado en Texas, dominar el español y vivir en esa comunidad es conocido como Beto, vio su campaña subir pero desinflarse lentamente. En el comunicado que envió esta tarde, Beto O'Rourke dice que reconoce que ya su campaña no tiene los recursos necesarios para seguir adelante en la contienda y por eso la está suspendiendo.
Well, some progress at last with Boris Johnson, it seems. He gets his election on December the 12th, as you say, and his big gamble here is that he can get a majority in that election and push his deal that he's reached with the European Union through the Parliament. But it is a huge gamble because Britain has really set around a two-party system, and that's broken down effectively. There are 5 parties that will effectively split this vote. So you've got Boris Johnson's party with his deal on Europe. You've got the opposition Labour Party with a slightly different deal. But also, to his right, he's got the formidable campaigner, Nigel Farage, and his Brexit party, who don't want a deal at all. You've got the Liberal Democrats at the other end, who want to cancel Brexit, as does the Scottish National Party. So 5 parties there with different strategies splitting the vote, which is why this is such an unpredictable election. So more parties, but only one issue. Normally you have multiple issues in an election, one issue dominating, that's Brexit. And the reality is, John and Erica, that even a general election might not unlock all of this gridlock that we've got in Parliament and find a solution.
It was personal. The top White House Ukraine expert testified to impeachment investigators that he was convinced President Trump was personally blocking military aid to Ukraine, specifically to force Ukraine's president to publicly announce an investigation into Joe Biden and his family. This comes from 2 sources in the room of Colonel Alexander Vindman. He, of course, said this under oath, his under oath testimony. In other words, it was not people assuming what Trump wanted and taking action based on those assumptions. No, it wasn't that. It was Trump personally, clearly, explicitly directing the situation, personally and for a very specific reason. It was a quid pro quo of military aid in an exchange for an investigation into Joe Biden, not what President Trump says was the reason he withheld aid.
My complaint has always been, and I'd withhold again, and I'll continue to withhold until such time as Europe and other nations contribute to Ukraine.
Well, that reason just doesn't add up. It does not fit with now what at least 4 people have testified under oath. And because what Trump was doing was wrong, Colonel Vindman testifies that those closest to the president appealed to him directly to stop. Again, according to 2 sources who were in the room for Vindman's under oath testimony, Vindman told lawmakers that over the summer, then National Security Advisor John Bolton asked Vindman to draft a memo. And in this memo, Vindman was to lay out, to urge Trump to release the military aid to Ukraine. Then Bolton took that memo, traveled on August 16th to the president's Bedminster Resort with the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, and the Secretary of Defense, the acting Secretary, Mark Esper. All of them to make a case to the president personally to stop. And guess what? He personally rejected their plea. Vindman is now the 4th person to testify under oath that Bolton was livid about a quid pro quo of military aid in exchange for investigations into Trump's political rivals. All of this underscores just how crucial Bolton's testimony is, because Bolton spoke directly and repeatedly to the president. There is no middleman. There is no assumption. And now House investigators have scheduled a date for Bolton to testify under oath behind closed doors. So is President Trump worried that his former national security advisor could bring his presidency down? So far, the track record is administration official after official defying the president's demand to stay silent. 2 more State Department officials today spending hours behind closed doors with impeachment investigators.
Good day, everyone. I hope you're ready for this frigid Friday forecast. There were over 20 record temperatures broken this morning. That's record lows, by the way, from the nation's midsection all the way to the East Coast. In fact, there were freeze warnings and advisories in place from the Ohio River Valley all the way to the Gulf Coast. An incredible amount of cold air settling in behind this cold front that is racing off the East Coast at the moment. It's picked up a lot of wind. We'll talk about that in just a second. We also have another weak Clipper system that's dropping south. That's going to bring us a chance of a rain-snow mix across the northern plains and into the upper Great Lakes. Here's the severe weather outbreak thanks to our initial cold front that raced through the East Coast yesterday. Over 175 reports of severe wind across the Mid-Atlantic and throughout the northeastern regions. Wind advisories today impacting over 50 million Americans. You can see the warnings indicated with that shading of red and the advisories in place with the shading of orange. There's the storm system exiting off the Atlantic coast. There's our Clipper system that'll bring a rain-snow mix to my hometown of Grand Rapids, Michigan, by the way, all the way to Minneapolis. You can see the rain and snow accumulation over the next 3 days. Nothing significant, but something you want to keep in mind as that cold front drops south. Temperatures this weekend will be chilly, below average from the Windy City all the way to the East Coast. Daytime highs of 55 forecast for New York today, 53 for D.C., 58 for Boston, Chicago. You'll top 41. I'm CNN meteorologist Derek Van Dam from the Weather Center. Have a great weekend, everyone.